So the definition of rest is different to everyone. To many, it is recreation and doing things like hiking, watching movies, gardening, or reading. Some rest by getting high, tipsy, or drunk, but to my understanding, rest is a kind of waking sleep, which is experienced while you are alert and alive, and it is an essential bridge to sleep. I believe that we are meant to rest more than we usually do. We see this a lot in animals. They spend a lot of time not sleeping, but resting. And those who are Christians know that rest is emphasized in the Bible, so much so that even God Himself took time to rest in the story of creation. Many associate rest with sleeping, but both terms refer to a state of inactivity. And the main difference is that sleep requires one to be in a restful state first, while rest does not require one to be sleeping. There are a lot of ways which one can rest, and I have just chosen to highlight four of them. One being physical. Physical rest involves relaxing the entire body. So it can be sleeping or napping or just simply laying down. Mental rest involves giving your brain a break. Emotional rest involves not being overwhelmed with the emotions you feel by creating a space of balance. And then there's creative rest for us creative people, which involves taking time to get inspired again whenever you're feeling stuck. So it might seem counterintuitive to take time out when your to-do list is a long mile, but carving out precious time to unplug, relax, reflect, and be active or visit the outdoors and connect with loved ones can actually make you feel healthier. It makes you feel more inspired, energetic, productive, and even more alive. Rest can help us enjoy life much better. Rest and relaxation allows us to reconnect with the world in and around us, inviting ease in our lives and a sense of belonging. So, rest isn't about being lazy or avoiding work. It's a necessary part. It's necessary for our health and for being at our best when we are working. So, I have found that to rest effectively, we need to make time for rest. The best way to rest is to make time for rest, just as we make time for the things that we do in our lives. We cannot just rest when we have free time. We achieve rest and sleep the same way by making space for it and actually allowing it to happen. Another way is to unplug. Unplugging, I have found that is an important part of rest. We miss so much of valuable time and the valuable moments that happen in our lives as we pass the hours with our face buried in our screens. When resting, make sure to completely unplug. Doing something as little as switching off the radio in your car when you drive, or to take a walk without your devices, without listening to music. A fun fact is that today is actually National Day of Unplugging. So I'd like you guys to take time to go and unplug, disconnect and actually take in the moment. Another way I've found is that being silent and taking in the moment. Silence offers opportunities for self-reflection and daydreaming, and these activate multiple parts of our brain. It gives us time to turn down the inner noise and increase awareness of what happens or of what matters the most. Rest can also be active. So I can say that rest is exercise. Take some time to engage in activities that foster resting, such as meditating, your yoga, taking a hot steamy shower, reading a book, or something as simple as just enjoying a cup of tea. Rest is not something that we should be putting off until we are feeling burnt out. And that's what we usually do as people. We need to rest to function at our best. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions or comments on this presentation, or if you'd like to invest in the health and wellness of your workforce and encourage them to be their best selves by resting. Thank you.
Good job, Ems. Look at the hustle. Hustle is real. Maybe just a building on this. I mean, it's one of the things a lot of people don't know. And I think as you get older and you start to take on more of a managerial role inside your organizations, kind of the Feb and March period for a lot of people is their financial year end and the budgeting period. And this puts a lot of pressure onto everybody across across a whole lot of functions inside the organization, whether it's finance, whether it's sales, whether it's transformation. There's a big, people don't quite grasp the timeline and the impact that kind of this Feb March period has on people. And I mean, we were touching on at the start the Bureau of Economic Research data, and they're actually saying that it is the fastest growing period since the second quarter of 2021 in terms of economic activity across all 5 of the major subsectors. New sales orders are up, and I mean, there's a legitimate reason why everybody is feeling burnt out at the moment, is that there's this pressure to get data in, get budgets in, get proposals, etc. So I think this whole concept of actually taking time to actually take a break is super important. So well done, Ams. Nicely done. Anybody else got any thoughts or comments? Everybody's gone to rest and unplug. With that, then I'm going to hand over to Paula, who is going to be talking conflict resolution. Paula, over to you.
Sorry, my meeting controls disappeared. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, great. All right, so thanks for this chance to chat about something that has kind of piqued my interest in the last month. Michelle and I did probably about 30 interviews for new candidates for a position during the course of the beginning of the month. And one of the questions that the interviewers asked was, how would you manage conflict in the workplace? And it was quite interesting that the 3 strategies completely employed by everybody was, I'll talk calmly to the person, or I'll report it up the chain of command, or I'll just let it go so that everybody is happy. And so it got me thinking about how I would actually answer the question. And so it made me go and investigate a little bit further. And I think conflict really is a reality at home, at work, in your social life. And it often comes from a few different places. It can come from a place of stress or emotional stress. It can come from a place of poor or miscommunication. It can even come from things like selfishness and wanting to rise up the corporate ladder and not really caring who gets stepped on in the process. So I think we need to remember that conflict is part of life. And so what happened in my investigation was I came across this instrument that Thomas and Kilman developed in order to understand how you manage conflict. What is your predominant mode of conflict management? And essentially, they said that there are 2 axes to work from. The one is your goals. Are you focused on your own concern? So are you very goal-driven for yourself? And that is a non-assertive to assertive type arm. The other arm is on relationships. Are you more concerned about others than your own needs? And so along this continuum is for myself to being very cooperative. And so there were 5 different modes of conflict management that came out of this. So the first is avoiding. And I mean, I know I've been very guilty of this myself often, but essentially the avoiding strategy is a lose-lose strategy. It can work when the issue is minor or it's really futile to address it. So you can use the avoiding strategy as long as it's not something that's going to really have a huge impact on life. But you do have to understand that there are consequences to using the strategy. It can lead to your relationships becoming more superficial, and it can cause festering conflict if the issue is not as minor as you might have thought it was. The next is the competing strategy. So here you can see it's if you don't really care too much about your relationships and you're a very assertive, goal-driven person for yourself, the competing strategy is very much about I win and you lose. But this strategy can work. There are times where you need a competing strategy to take hold. And this is when you need a quick decision to be made in an emergency situation. So often leaders will employ this strategy because they already have the position of authority. And I think in the COVID period, a lot of people used this strategy to cut out the conflict and make the decision because stuff had to happen. But you do also need to understand that if you're working in a team, this strategy can lead to the rest of your team showing passive resistance behavior, and it may lead to resentment in the long run. The next is the accommodating strategy. So accommodating is where it's a case of the other person wins and I lose. This strategy can be used when harmony is an essential outcome that you're striving for. And it is not that important for you to win this particular situation. So when harmony outweighs your needs, the accommodating strategy can work quite well. But this can lead to a feeling of being taken advantage of for yourself, and you may become resentful. And it may possibly open the door to you being manipulated further down the line if people know that you are willing to give in more often. Then kind of in the middle of everything is the compromising strategy. And this is when some win and some lose, and you win sometimes and you lose sometimes. And this strategy can work when there is limited time to resolve an issue, and often when there's a temporary issue needed. So it's when you can say, okay, well, we need a fix for now, and we'll come back and deal with the bigger problem later. But this does lead to not everybody being totally satisfied, and it may lead to problems later down the line if you don't actually address the core issue. So the assertive and cooperative strategy in this model is the collaborating model. And this is a win-win. This is basically where everybody comes out happy. And this strategy is best to be used when there are strong opposing views and strong opinions and feelings around a particular situations. So all sides have a big stake in the outcome, but this does take time, and it takes active involvement of all parties in order to do this kind of conflict resolution. So the outcome of this, though, is that it may lead to frustration because consensus can take a long time, and it may so your biggest concern here is frustration, but overall it's one of the best outcomes. So that's all very well. We now know how we go about our conflict management, but how do we resolve conflict? And so I took this bit of a brick approach, and at the bottom, my first core foundation strategy is really a mindset, and that mindset is think Ubuntu. So Ubuntu is the African philosophy of I am because we or you are, and it really is a guiding principle that we should hold within our teams. It is central to creating cohesion. It's about mutual respect. It's about compassion. It's about our interconnectedness and unity. It's about justice and just decision making, and its conformity in that I understand my own role within this community or within this team, as well as understanding the role of others. So as a bedrock, if you think Ubuntu in your team or in your family, it forms a foundation to ensure that conflict doesn't rise as quickly as it can if there's no cohesion. The next level up is to recognize that diversity is a strength. And so while you might have a viewpoint, other people have different experiences. They come with different knowledge to a situation. So instead of saying my way or the highway, listen to what everybody else has got to offer and use that diversity from the beginning before the conflict even arises. And then teamwork and having shared goals is the other middle kind of glue to ensuring that the conflict is in a situation or in a team is reduced, so that if you have shared goals and you all know what you're working to, you know what the outcome is. And so having that common thrust, as opposed to my goal versus your goal, you already start to reduce the instance of conflict arising. But then, yes, there is a layer when conflict is already there. And what do you do then? So instead of just talking calmly to the person or taking it up the chain of command or completely ignoring the situation, I've got three other options for you. Be solution focused. A lot of what I read said, identify the problem, drill down into what the issue really is. But I actually think it's the other way around. Drill into what are the solutions. Because if you shift the focus away from the problem and to what are our options on the table to go forward, what are our solutions, then you're all working again back towards that common goal. So offer solutions, don't offer what the problem is and get trapped in the negative. Then the earlier you address the conflict, the better. So you could see with that avoiding strategy, one of the biggest things is that it tends to fester. So the earlier you address the conflict, the less the conflict has time to grow itself and become a really big destructive issue. And then acknowledge what you do in a situation, acknowledge what others contribute to the situation, and actively listen to their solutions and their suggestions and to their reasons for why the conflict is there. And so those are three key principles to hold in mind while you're busy dealing with conflict. And the two bedrocks in blue are really strategies to ensure that you have minimal conflict in your work environment, or your home environment, or your social environment. So that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. We were actually chatting yesterday about there's actually, when you get put in a management position, it's actually, a lot of people don't have the, you often don't want to be, while management sounds great, a lot of people actually don't want to be in a management position. You're responsible for people, you're responsible for keeping things going the whole time, you're responsible for having the answers to all the problems. And, one of the things that we really are kind of talking about a lot at the moment is making sure that we can have smart decision-making processes along the way. So, I think some of the things that you learn as you get older and you take on more managerial experience is the ability to involve and listen to other people. And I think you actually appreciate the people who speak up and say, not necessarily criticize for the sake of criticizing, but are able to actually be outspoken. So, a message to the team, I don't have all the answers to everything, and that's why we encourage you guys to also share and work through the things that you are working on and give us your experience. The whole point is a diverse set of opinions to be able to drive best outcomes for our clients. Anybody else got any comments? Geez, guys, you're taking this unplugging thing very seriously. If there's no further comments, just a big thank you to everybody who has made themselves available. It has been an awesome week for us. I think we're very happy with the things that are out there. I think we've all enjoyed some of the stuff that we have worked on. It has been there are good vibes there. You know, you have weeks where they're good vibes and there are weeks where they're not so good vibes, but I think it's been a week of good vibes. So big thank you to everybody. It has been something we can be very satisfied with, and I think it's going to be a good week coming up. Take heed of what Amber has said. Take an opportunity to rest. It has been a hectic start to the new year. Look after yourselves, put yourselves first as well, and then we will come back refreshed and ready on the new week. Well done, everybody. We shall chat again. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Thank you, everyone. Well done.
Thank you.
Happy Friday, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.